Hello everybody! So this class is called Philosophy 228, Epistemology, and in this class we'll be talking about the nature of knowledge and the extent of our knowledge. So epistemology is a Greek word, it's a long Greek word that has two roots. The first root, episteme, which means knowledge, and then ology, which means the study of knowledge. So epistemologists concern themselves with a couple of different tasks, most of which are related to knowledge and most of which we can sort into two categories. First of all, we need to determine the nature of knowledge. That is, what does it mean to say that someone knows or fails to know something? What is the definition of that word even? And secondly, we must determine the extent of human knowledge. How much do we know? How much can we know? Basically, what do we know? Do we know things? Let's find out!
Hollywood stars and celebrities, what do they know? Do they know things? Let's find out!
How can we use our reason, our sense, the testimony from other people, and other resources to know more than we know? And how do we do that well? And how do we do that poorly? Can we be responsible knowers? And then later on in the semester, we'll get to some social issues with knowledge, which have to do with how we attribute expertise to people, who counts as an epistemic authority, whether there are sort of moral problems with attributing authority to certain people and not other people, for example, and also issues with disagreement. What do I do when I think one thing is true, but my epistemic peer, somebody who is like me in their intelligence and their capacity, thinks that something else is true? What am I supposed to do? Do I move my view to resemble theirs? Do I hold fast to my own view? And we'll also be looking at issues of epistemic justice and epistemic injustice, and philosophical concepts that have to do with those things. So for example, in courtrooms, certain types of people sometimes get more epistemic authority attributed to them than seems fair, or they get their epistemic authority stripped away based on who they are or what they look like.
Next, we'll head to the kitchen where... Is that Mila Kunis?
Famously in
Oh my
BoJack
God,
Horseman,
you're Laura Linney.
People say that
a lot
to me
of
all
celebrities
the time,
get...
and it's true. I am Laura Linney. Excuse me, can I get some more pretzels? I'm Laura Linney.
completely unjustified, it seems, attention from various sources and get praised or
Oh my God! American singer-songwriter Beyonce is her.
attended to, even though
Zach
they're
Braff.
just
Braff.
people,
Hey there,
and
famous
their
actor
one
Zach Braff.
claim to being worth more than regular people is that they happen to be famous on TV or in movies. So it'll be a jam-packed class, and I look forward to seeing you all very soon. In our few first class sessions, we'll be talking about the nature of knowledge primarily. And the nature of knowledge is usually understood to contain three different elements. One element is the element of belief. So in order to know something, you've got to at least believe it, right? And belief has some interesting features, some of which we'll discuss, some of which we won't discuss. But that's one element. Another element is the element of truth. So, right, in order to know something, that thing has to be true. If it's not true, then you can't know that thing, you know? You can believe that thing or you can imagine that thing, but if it's not true, then it just doesn't seem like the kind of thing you can know, right? No, truth is a requirement on knowledge, most people think. And the last element that we'll consider is the element of justification, right? So a lot of people think that in order to count as knowing something, I must have some kind of reason for believing it, I must have some basis for thinking that it's true, and we call that the justification. There are other words for this sort of thing, and they'll come up later in the semester. But those are basically the three elements of knowledge that are classically considered to be a part of knowledge, namely belief, truth, and justification. So epistemology concerns itself partly with analyzing each of those things and how they're related to knowledge. And it turns out it's kind of tricky to spell out each one of those. It's tricky in a way that we'll also see that maybe the attempt we give initially to define what knowledge is runs into some issues because of some of these concepts having difficult questions in and of themselves. So we'll talk about skepticism about knowledge and what we call the Gettier problem, named after Edmund Gettier, who wrote a 3-page paper that changed philosophy not too long ago. So we'll have fun discussing that as well. And then we'll also talk about the nature of justification. So what does it take to have a good reason for knowing or a bad reason for knowing? And how are our reasons for knowing related to each other? How are they structured? How do they hold up the structure of knowledge that we have? Maybe there's nothing holding it up. Maybe we're all just flying by the seat of our pants. So this question is sort of interesting because it relates to what we end up thinking about our own status as knowers, right? Do we get to have any expertise? Do we get to have any knowledge? Or does it turn out that we're all just making stuff up? Hopefully it's not true that we're all making stuff up, because then a lot of this academic exercise, maybe not the philosophical one, hopefully, but maybe the multiple academic exercises that we take ourselves to engage in that give us knowledge will be a little suspect. So we want to show that we can know things. That would be a good result, right? But it's hard to show that. So that'll be some of what we're doing in this class. So again, roughly for the first third-ish of the course, we'll be talking about the nature of knowledge and the different components of knowledge, and also specifically justification and how justification accrues, who gets justification. And then we'll move into what we might call social epistemology, which has to do with who knows things, and what do we do if people disagree about who knows things, and what do we do about people getting different statuses socially for counting as knowing or not counting as knowing. How is that an issue that has to do with justice? And we'll talk about other issues in epistemic normativity, that is, the rules about what you should believe and what knowledge requires, right, of a good thinker positioned in the world. And we'll get to see several different philosophical perspectives on each of these issues. And I'll be trying as an instructor too to tie in all of these ideas with sort of contemporary, both pop culture, but also deep issues that crop up in scientific thought and in other types of humanistic thought as well. So this will be fun. Strap in, get ready, and I'll see you very soon. I'm looking forward to meeting you all in the classroom or on Zoom. We'll be holding hybrid sessions, and hopefully you've gotten to see the little intro video where I talk about the specifics of that. So please do the reading, show up to class, take notes, and hopefully enjoy as much as you can learning about these kind of fun topics. The readings might sometimes seem a little bit dry, but I promise when we get into discussions, they will feel much more pertinent. And hopefully not all the readings are dry. Hopefully some of the readings are actually pretty engaging. Anyway, see you all soon.